Greetings, greenhouse people. We are back with another episode of Tech on Demand, where our goal is to help you grow your best crops ever. I'm your host, Bill Calkins, and throughout 2026, I've been catching up with different people in the professional horticulture space and finding out a little bit about their careers, passions, journeys in the world of plants, and more. Calling these conversations Pick 4 because I sent each guest a list of 12 questions and they picked 4 to answer and discuss. Although this episode is going to be amazing, I do want to encourage you to jump back in the archives and listen to the previous ones as well. I think the range of guests and their experience really highlights how awesome our industry is. Today, I'm excited to be joined by my friend Jamie Gibson, Dr. James Gibson, the technical lead at Syngenta Flowers here in North America. Jamie, welcome to the podcast.
All right, Bill. Great to be here. Yeah.
And we were just talking. Spring is, in the world of technical services, spring is sort of probably wrapping up in a way. A lot of products have shipped over the last weeks and months, certainly down south and starting to really move up here in the Midwest, turning your attention to mums here pretty soon, right?
Yeah, and even mum cutting quality is the big focus right now, just making sure we're starting off on the right foot, coming out of the Alba, Florida farm. Just wrapping up the bedding plant season with cutting quality, and then, just a few questions on the production side. It's been kind of a quiet season so far, here and there, the typical problems. But overall, things are good, and it's been quite quiet the last 10 days, I'd say. I think people are shipping. The weather's been a little bit on the dry side, knock on wood. Hopefully our May is not terrible on weekends, and we have a really good spring season.
Yeah, and we just needed to warm up here in the Midwest, and I think product is going to fly. So I was kind of stalking your LinkedIn because as long as I've known you, you've been the technical guy at Syngenta. Like, I was thinking back, like, as far as I can remember, many, many years. And I was wondering, like, what other roles have you had with other companies in the industry? And I know you went to NC State, like the Hort powerhouse. It seems like everybody I work with these days went to NC State. You guys have just taken over the industry. But I really didn't really know where you did your undergrad. But from just stalking your LinkedIn, it looks like you've been at Syngenta just about as long as I've been in the industry, like 20-ish years, maybe more. And then before NC State, you were a mountaineer at West Virginia. So
Yep.
Tell me, where did you grow up? Maybe a little bit about your trajectory in the industry after earning a master's and PhD from NC State. Mycorrhizal Applications is recognized as the master distributor of a portfolio of biological and botanical plant support solutions and the world's leading supplier of mycorrhizal soil inoculants. Backed by industry-leading research and advanced production, they deliver innovative products that support plant health, performance, and vigor. They're known across the industry for popular brands like MycoApply, AmiloShield, and Debug. Mycorrhizal Applications offers proven solutions tailored to every growing operation. To learn more or find a distributor, visit mycorrhiza.com.
Okay, yeah. So born and raised in Southern Maryland, horticulture is in my family. I often say dirt is in my blood.
Nice.
On both sides of the family. So my mom's side was true horticulture. My great-grandfather was a plant pathologist, a state plant pathologist for the University of Maryland, Dr. J.B.S. Norton, and he was a daylily breeder. And then on my dad's side, those are farmers. They're tobacco farmers. At their heyday, they were raising about a little over 100 acres of tobacco, burley tobacco, where you hang the tobacco there. So agriculture has been a part of my life. So yeah, did my undergraduate at West Virginia University, had an amazing floriculture advisor who came from Cornell, Dr. Brad Burse. He was a true floriculturist, but he was also a horticulturist. So he knew shrubs, trees, plant ID, botany, just an inspirational guy. So he triggered me into more of the science, and that's where I decided to pursue more of an advanced degree. But before NC State, I was actually a grower for about 2 years. I did 2 summer internships at a greenhouse named before Green Street Growers, it was called Windmere Nursery.
Okay.
That was where I cut my teeth in floriculture. So I was a rooting station. It was finished crops, had a retail section. They grew the whole gamut. It was never a quiet time. And that was really where I gained a lot of my floriculture interest, where I really wanted to focus on my passion with NC State. So worked with the entire floriculture team there at NC State. And then in 2003, I accepted a faculty position. So I did go the academic route for a few years at Florida, way out on the Panhandle at the University of Florida, Milton. Taught 5 courses there, some distance courses, some face-to-face. And then I always had this calling, right? Growing has always been in my blood. I always wanted to get back to the practical side. So I accepted a position with Conrad Fafford, who had then been acquired by Syngenta in 2007. So that's the connection where I began my journey with Syngenta. And that's where, now I'm 19 years in with Syngenta, having a diverse group of roles. So starting first with soil research, technical side on the chemical and the soil side. And then really it's been a focus on genetics the past, I would say, 10 years. And every 5 years, there seems to be new initiatives and new movement in genetics. And my role right now is a lot of things. It's supply chain support, farm feedback, filing. Then we're getting into all the diagnostics and problem solving that goes with technical services. And then the season basically begins again with supplying with support of the supply chain.
Okay, so all right. So it was that point, that Fafford time period is probably where we met. I wasn't making that connection. I'd completely forgotten about that. So that helps me put this timeline together. And I would have guessed that there was greenhouse production in there somewhere. I couldn't pinpoint where it was, but you are so knowledgeable about the practical side of growing plants that I should have assumed that there was a couple years at least or more of greenhouse production in there. So thank you for that timeline. I think it really does shine a spotlight on all the different roles in our industry and how everybody wears a lot of different hats. And it was interesting you said about every 5 years things change and in flux. I guess that keeps it interesting, right?
Never a dull moment, right? No one day is the same. Yeah, it's been just an intense time where you're just launching new products. You're also bringing new innovations, solutions, culture, and then how do you support that cutting or seed from the beginning with young plants?
Okay, well, and that's true because you do deal with both seed and vegetatives, pretty much covering the whole board there. All right, we do have 4 questions to get into, so are you ready?
I am ready.
All right, and I guess we already touched a little bit on the first one, but I'm sure that there's more of a in-depth moment for you to recount here. So what was your first exposure to horticulture, and how did you feel, react, and respond?
I think most folks talk about their grandmother or their grandfather, and my grandmother being the daughter of a professional horticulturist, a plant breeder. I just read one of his peer-reviewed articles on native grasses of Maryland, and it was like a 19-page peer-reviewed journal article with illustrations and descriptions. He was a true inspiration. But my grandmother always into gardening, and from an early age, learning the plants, learning not just ornamental plants, but the woodland plants and trees, and just getting a really great sense of the natural world. But from a formal horticulture standpoint, where I really caught that magic, where, it's finally in your system, I think was when I began to do more of like mow, blow, and go type landscaping, right? Mm-hmm. Making some money, learning from what I did at the farm and how I can do this with other residential businesses or residential areas, and learn how to, produce a beautiful landscape. And then had formal training in horticulture, doing some internships with a local business called Wentworth Nursery, where, it was 16-hour days and digging holes, hedging, pruning, fertilization, mulching, just learning all the professional aspects of that. And when I did that for a couple summers, making a few bucks an hour, and then to go into the commercial greenhouse, that's when you saw you can make good money. You're not in the rain all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You're under flowers in the winter time. You're working with ornamental plants in the winter when everything is dull and dreary. So that really kind of sparked the horticulture side of my career.
So the hard work hooked you, and it didn't run you off. It's good.
Oh, the work ethic has always been there. That's kind of how I've leaned on my career, is just getting the job done. And that's kind of helped me in my path during my career.
Oh, I think that's great. And I do love hearing the story about grandparents. I have a similar story. I definitely learned a lot from grandma and grandpa out in the garden and mom. So no, that's really, really cool. All right, next question. And this is one of my favorites. I'm really glad you picked this one. All right, if you won the lottery and could start a horticulture business from scratch, what would it be and what would it look like?
Yeah. So when you win the lottery here, this is like winning mega millions, right?
Limitless money. No
Limitless
limits
money.
on what you can do.
Right. No pressure, no stress, no financial stress anymore. What could you do? How could you make a mark? And I've thought about this. This is kind of one of my dreams, but I would actually I would use my farm. So we have around a little under 40 acres here. A lot of it's in about 15 acres of it is in horticulture, few greenhouses, but we have a vineyard. We have small fruits, have vegetable areas in containers in the ground, raised beds. So we have the kind of the arena for training and teaching. And that's what I think I would do because of the passion that I had in teaching at the university and bringing in interns and doing kind of cycles and all the different aspects of horticulture, from vegetable production, small fruits and brambles, flower production, woody ornamental propagation and production, landscaping, and just have kind of a training arena for young professionals that are pursuing their degree in horticulture and giving them the ability to treat it like a business.
Yeah.
All of the products, all of the produce, all of the flowers would kind of migrate into community programs. So, food pantries for the produce, events for the FFA and for 4-H, like how would you develop a farm to table exercise, and how would you present your products in a retail setting so you could train people to be ready for the garden center, and the social skills and social aspects of how the etiquette should be in a garden center working with the gardening public. So that's what I would love to do. I would love that but all of the products that are generated would go to a local community. It would all benefit the local community. Nothing, they would see the capitalistic approach to horticulture just to see that financial incentive, but it would go towards the community.
I love that idea, sort of that educational, experiential, having all those real world experiences. And if it was already funded and you could just run it how you see fit and offer it up to anyone who wants to use it for their programs, I think that's really, really cool. And I can tell you've given that some thought. So thank you so much for sharing that. If I win the lottery, I will give you half and you can make that happen.
That's good. That's a deal.
All right, question number 3, which is a great question for an industry veteran who's seen just about everything there is to see in our industry. What advice would you give to a young person considering the pursuit of career in horticulture? And I'm sure you've had these discussions with people in the past. So
yeah, no doubt. There's been recent visitors to our Gilroy site from the university. Asking what was the path or what would you recommend? And my first comment is be humble. Start from the ground and work your way up. Pay your dues. I mean, I'll oftentimes say that you got to pay your dues in this industry in order to kind of learn from the ground up. You have to have that boot camp, right? You have to be broken down, and then you have to be built back up, right? You might have to learn the new culture at a commercial greenhouse or a landscape company, and you may see the bad, right, Bill? You may see the the bad, the poor management, and you might actually be a part of some businesses, whether it's an internship or your first job. You might have some really great experiences, operational experiences. So you got to just jump around and learn all those different aspects of horticulture, and then find that thing that really sinks in to what you love, what you're passionate about. Really, get you up in the morning. Is it flowers? Is it landscaping? Is it pesticide applications? Is it the business aspect? Do you have that sales strategy approach to how you deal with plants? That's where, or retail, the retail side or the therapeutic side of plants, is
Sure.
that something of interest? Just jumping around, learning all the different aspects, but things that I've thought about too, like, man, I would have loved to take a 3-month internship with a greenhouse manufacturer.
Okay.
Just to learn how they build the greenhouses, how they spec it out. I was formally trained in that and as an undergrad, but it's changed so differently now.
Right.
How do they just build greenhouses now based on dimension and kind of the infrastructure needs of certain businesses? That would be something to tap into, no doubt.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice. The staying humble. Don't be afraid to start from the ground up. You might take some kicks early on. Like, one thing I learned in our industry early is that growers will tell you how it is. Like, they're not going to sugarcoat a lot. And because, you're usually going into a greenhouse at crunch time, and they're not, they need to solve a problem and solve it quick. And if you're not there to help solve the problem, they really don't have a whole lot of time for you. But they will be there to support you and answer questions and really help you along if you show that humility and are willing to put in the work. So that's, I think, good advice. That's a really good point about the greenhouse manufacturing, because there is so much into that, especially now with all the automation and technology. Like, you have to think so far ahead because you're never quite sure. Like, I mean, if you built a greenhouse 15 years ago without predicting that you were going to have LEDs, you're going to have a ton of changes that are needed, or the new environmental controls or networked systems and Wi-Fi. Like, that's a really good point. I think, industry is very high tech in some areas, and that would be good for people to have exposure to, for sure. All right, last question. And this one's going to wrap us up nicely for the day. What do you love most about your job?
Been thinking about this one, and I think it's just, never in a million years did I ever think, this country boy out of Southern Maryland, I hated public speaking. In high school, I was an introvert. To be in this industry, I'm still starstruck by the people that I've worked with in past and who I work with now. That kind of really jazzes me up, is the amount of mentorship from folks, the experiences that you've had with people, how you've learned the ropes. And it's been all aspects, right? It's been the floriculture faculty there at NC State. Everyone had a specific niche, and you learned all those different aspects, from extension to teaching to research, soils, nutrition, PGRs, environmental, bulbs, cut flowers, and then, going into the University of Florida. I mean, to be a colleague of Dr. Jim Barrett, Terrell Nell, or Paul Fisher, or one of the greats, Rick Shellhorn, to be a colleague of Rick Shellhorn and learn the plantsman side of things, it was just so amazing. And then just moving into the Syngenta side or the Fafford side, my mentor in soils, Dr. Hugh Poole, he's still consulting today. And, just to learn all those different aspects of growing media from that gentleman. And then the colleagues in Syngenta, Nancy Rexigal on the crop protection side, or Harvey Lang or Carl Trellinger, those people. Mark Smith, to be a colleague with Mark Smith, the mom guru, right?
Yeah.
I'm just blown away today that, wow, I'm interacting with these folks, learning. They're learning from me. I think that's been the biggest thing. And then to put that into practice with these growers, never in a million years did I think I'd be working with some of the larger growers on programs and, building programs for them, and to see their success. It's almost like in academia when you write a grant and you nail that funding that you need to run your program, just to see a large grower also achieve that sale and to build that product that you've helped them build, that to me is what I love. Getting up in the morning and just helping the growers, solving their problems and just building their success. I think it's twofold, right? It's the colleagues that you work with or have worked with, and then the grower industry, the grower community, and how you've supported them and how successful they are. That to me is what I love of that part of my job. And to be a floriculturist, that is, I am living my dream job, and I can only hope that I can do this for another 11, 12 years for our industry and just really round out my career.
I think that's absolutely fantastic. You have definitely learned from some legends, and I'm sure that a lot of people would say the same about you. They've learned so much from you, whether that's, to, like you said, the greenhouse businesses that you partner with and work with and support, or the other technical folks around the industry that hold you in very high regard.
I've got one little story too, Bill.
All right,
so just recently, an intern of mine that was working back in the mid-20 teens, she now is teaching me artificial intelligence platforms and apps, how to make my workday more efficient and save time. And here's a gal who did enormous amounts of trials with us. Christina Bergard, that is her name, down in South Florida. She's one of our trials. She's our trial coordinator, but she has a knack for AI, and she's now teaching me. So that's been rewarding too, right?
Yeah, right. That's the goal. I mean, that's the goal. You're obviously an educator down to your core, and that's the goal, right? Is to have a person that worked, that you've helped in the past, now coming back and being a mentor for you in something. That's got to feel so, so good. Wow. That's great. Jamie, this has really been fun. Usually when we record podcasts, we're diving deep into a specific crop challenge, but I really enjoyed this one. This was fun. I really liked learning more about you as a person, your history in the industry, and going back to your family history in the industry. I had no idea about that, but that's got to be really cool, reading peer-reviewed articles from someone in your family talking about grasses and native grasses. I'm sure that some of that could probably be repackaged and reformatted today, because I got to believe native grasses someone's looking to grow those in Maryland as we speak.
Absolutely. Yeah. And to show my daughters, their great grandfather's daylilies that he bred. He has a collection at the National Arboretum. To show them that, I mean, that's just, I can't describe it. I can't describe what that feeling is.
That's cool. That is so awesome. Well, I love hearing it. Again, thank you so much for your time today. I know it's a busy time of year. Thanks for taking the time to catch up, Jamie.
My pleasure, Bill. Always a pleasure. Thank you.
Cool. Well, I think that wraps up this episode of Tech on Demand, but I cannot close without reminding you to subscribe, like, and share the podcast with your peers. Just about 250 episodes now in the archive, covering a wide range of topics. It's really something for everyone in professional horticulture, garden center retail, landscape, CEA production, and more. Take care out there.